I CVille Show. It's Jerry Miller. It's good to be with you. Okay.
Are we seeing it live on your screen?
Now, welcome to the I CVille Show. It's Jerry Miller. It's good to be with you. A pleasure to connect with you. And if you only knew what went into putting a daily show on like this, but you know what? That's why it's live, and that's why you enjoy it. The I CVille guys, I CVille Network, across 7 channels here in Central Virginia. We are going to feature the Central Virginia wedding industry in its best form with people from the industry that live it, that know it, that breathe it. They are coming up in a matter of moments. Before we get to them, let's thank the folks that make this program possible. Folks, the fine people at Greenberry's Coffee, Al Schornberg, moments away, Sean and Roxanne Simmons of Greenberry's guys. These people had a dream. They had a Honda Civic. They had a sweat equity, and they took this dream and they turned it into a global business. That is a good idea, Al. That is a good idea to put down there. This business global in Japan, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Washington, D.C., and soon to open in Portland, Oregon. Greenberry's Coffee, thank you for being a part of the show. Scott Wagner Chiropractic and Sports Medicine. We are also their agency of record, just like Greenberry's Coffee. Who's got your back? Scott Wagner. Scott Wagner's got your back. He is changing people's lives. I'm getting text messages left and right about this program, which you know what is a good sign. People are watching the I CVille Show. Harris Tolber is our director, Judah Wickhauer and Lauren Linsky, producers of the program. Lauren upstairs with the team. Let's go to the group shot, ladies and gentlemen, and let's welcome some fantastic people to this show. Ray Caddell, Al Schornberg, and Jen Fariello.
Hello.
You guys all experts at what you do. First, hello.
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 This is going to be a lot of fun. Why don't we start with Ray Caddell? Ray Caddell, you are the president of Great Party Bands.
I am.
You were also in Big Ray of the Cool Cats, named after you.
Yes.
Okay.
Indeed.
So you know this industry inside and out. You are entertaining the guests that come to these weddings. Let's start open-ended on the Central Virginia wedding industry and the impact the Central Virginia wedding industry has on the Charlottesville, Albemarle County community and the counties across the board.
Sure. Let me give you a number. And this number, you know, there's always, what do they say? There's statistics, damn statistics, and lying with statistics. This number is so close to coming from 3 or 4 different places. Watch this, $45 million last year, the wedding industry, into this economy. $45 million. That's a lot of money right here in and on your show, it's called Charlottesville and CVille, but you talk about, it's always greater
Everything.
Charlottesville, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's Charlottesville, Albemarle, our friends in Nelson County that have venues. Greene is actually starting to have some venues, and Fluvanna, but $45 million, I mean, that's real money. And I've said this many times, and I heard you say it the other day, and maybe you heard it from me, or maybe great minds think alike. But think about this, folks. When these people spend this $45 million, a great percentage of those people don't live here. They come in, I have some numbers on that too, they come in from out of town, they get hotel rooms, they eat in restaurants. Nobody comes to a wedding, a destination wedding for one day. They're here for 2 or 3 or 4 days sometimes. They use our transportation. They use our photographers. They use our venues. They use our musicians. And when they leave, here's what they don't leave. They don't leave any of those pesky kids, of which I have 4, for us to educate.
They don't tax the school system.
That's right. That's where not all the money, but a huge chunk of any community's budget goes to education.
Well, the other thing is that they're employing almost entirely local and small businesses.
That's right.
They're not bringing in corporate entities from where they're coming from. I mean, they're employing our teachers who work on the weekends and it's all local small businesses and a lot of self-employed people that I think, we all know that the tax revenue generated from small businesses is what communities really rely on. And so I think that money
Jen said something really important, and I don't want it to go by. We have a lot of people in our community that can't make it on one job. And some of those people are school teachers. So when you're out at an event and you're getting waited on, or you look behind the counter and you see the chefs, or you see the bartenders, a lot of times
even the drivers.
Drivers, absolutely. A lot of times,
a big part
those
of it.
are people that not only want that job, they need that job. You know, we talk about it, Jerry and I, sometimes online. I don't think we're going to solve the affordable housing problem. It's just so big. I mean, I can't even imagine. But the people that we want to work here and be part of our community, I just call it workforce housing. We have to find some way for those people to be able to afford to live and shop at Wegmans and do that kind of stuff.
I love it. And I got to get the pioneer Al Schornberg in the mix right here. And you can already tell this is going to be a lively discussion. Before we do, we'll thank some people for watching. Sarah Hill Buczynski, Michael Buczynski, Bob Shada, Gilly Garth, Gabrielle, Tyler Berry, Tim Ryan, Steve Turner. I mean, we have a lot of people on the feed. On yours right now, you're getting some props, Jen Fariello. And they said you looked very pretty. What'd you do? Chris, your husband.
Thanks, babe.
Todd LeBack is also watching as well. Al Schornberg on his feed. Cindy, your beautiful
pretty
wife,
too.
is
Oh,
watching
she's
right
watching?
now. Cindy
Okay.
is watching. So is Rachel Tramontana. Rachel Tramontana. She says Keswick is the best. Carla Hermana says Keswick is amazing. One of the things that you have done as a pioneer, you are undoubtedly a pioneer.
Well,
Okay?
I don't know if I like that term. Makes me sound old.
No, you're one of the first to market. You helped build this market. That is safe to say. Keswick Vineyards winning awards left and right. I'm going to throw an open-ended question here. You get in the discussion. Impact of Central Virginia wedding industry in Charlottesville in totality, and I'm talking Albemarle County and the surrounding counties as well.
Okay, well, I can tell you the impact for wineries is huge. We'll start there. Because agriculture in Virginia can be somewhat iffy, as we saw last year with all the rain. Without weddings, without being able to do special events, wineries would have a very tough time making it year to year here. They couldn't do it. On the community, I think finally, if you see the advertising that was approved at CACVB yesterday, See More, I think is and it's promoting the wineries in Virginia, or really the Albemarle, Charlottesville area. So finally, the county is starting to embrace the wineries, thinking of us as an asset as opposed to strictly a liability. And the number of people that we touched on earlier that are employed, I mean, it's incredible. The number of vendors, if you think of them all, transportation, catering, restaurants, hotels, musicians, photographers,
Makeup artists,
venues,
hairdressers,
yeah, I
massage,
mean,
I mean,
it's incredible.
The service industry,
It's incredible.
the peripheral industry that services the events too. I mean, these people aren't just coming here for 8 hours on a Saturday. They're spending the whole weekend here. And so all our hotels and our restaurants and our boutiques, and there's so much more that goes into the money that's spent in Charlottesville that stays local, that's associated with the wedding industry, that isn't exactly wedding budget related. I mean, I think it's one of the other things we really need to make sure that the county understands how many people we as an industry bring here that support the other industries that service them.
And one thing to highlight, and I'm going to throw this to you, when folks come to the Central Virginia, to a wedding in Central Virginia, these people are willing to spend their money. They're eager to spend their money. They're planning on having a good time. They understand having a good time. The cost of having a good time is spending money. And Al, Ray, if they do spend their money and have a good time, they leave Charlottesville and Central Virginia and they become evangelists for Charlottesville and Central
really
Virginia,
do.
where
Exactly.
they spread the
Yeah.
word of mouth of our community, which then encourages other people then to come and have vacations here. Talk to me about that.
Well, it's always important, but it's absolutely critical right now over the last couple of years since 8/12. My band travels a lot. We play actually more outside of Charlottesville than we do in Charlottesville. And people say, where are you from? And I always say, we're from Charlottesville, Virginia. And they say, I've heard it's so beautiful there, or the University of Virginia. So now, even now, but especially last year, people say, oh, that's terrible what happened there. I'm like, no, it's okay. It was a bunch of out-of-town guys. We're going to get it figured out. It's going to be fine. It didn't change the general framework of our town.
The national press likes to leave that part out.
Absolutely. Oh, well, they always leave it out.
Right.
About how it was not us. It was not
Exactly.
white Charlottesville folks. It was not black Charlottesville folks. That's not what was going on here. When buses are coming, how do we get onto this?
Well, I mean, I think it's an important topic.
It's important.
It is.
It's
Let me throw it
important.
to you here. How did A12, if people need to hear this, I'll throw it to all you guys. How did A12 impact your business?
Huge. I mean, at the CACVB yesterday, the numbers came out and they said the destination visitors was down 15 to 20%. That's a big impact. That's huge. Think about it. That's your margin. That's
Just one little band, just Big Ray and the Cool Cats, one little tiny microcosm. We had 2 cancellations. We were very fortunate that they didn't cancel. They moved their events, big weddings, out of Charlottesville specifically because of that. And they weren't like August 19th. They were well into the fall.
right. You're planning your weddings a year in advance.
So hearing you all talk about that is really interesting because it didn't change my wedding business at all. But what I did find is that people who love Charlottesville or outside of Charlottesville, they wanted to come here and actually share their love. I mean, I remember even at weddings, seeing people like a couple weeks after, I mean, actually the day after, my college roommate who lives in Richmond was like, I just need to be there. Like, I need to, what are you doing? We have lunch? I just need to be there. And I saw that sentiment a lot, that people who love Charlottesville, they wanted to like wrap their arms around Charlottesville and give it a big hug and get in here and go downtown and go to restaurants and be in this community that they love and say, you know, this is not us. And so I saw that at weddings. I saw people come in and they were, you know, they wanted to talk about it. People who, you know, were out of town but had come back into town and maybe they got married in Charlottesville and they just wanted to talk about it because it was being talked about everywhere. But people who know Charlottesville knew that it wasn't being talked about in the context that they know Charlottesville. Does that make sense?
Oh, that makes perfect sense. And another thing, and Ray, jump in here. We're going to throw this to you here. James Pierce from the Boys and Girls Club, thank you for watching. Justin Goodman from, I think it's Soul Cycle, is that right? Zoom, it might be Justin Goodman, thank you for watching. George Collier from Interstate Press and Service Companies. Keith Smith, one of the fantastic agents we have. Bob Shada has questions for you. We will get to Bob Shada's questions shortly. A12 first. Okay, and then now we have the ridiculous absurdity of our top 3 elected officials in the state of Virginia, with the governor, the attorney general, and the lieutenant governor. Okay, so my wife's family is from Long Island. Okay, Long Island, and they literally say to me, "What the heck is going on in your Commonwealth? You got A12, and then you got the governor doing this Nimrod stuff with the blackface stuff." Okay, what is going on with the Commonwealth? So unfortunately, there is this perception out there, whether fair or not, and the stuff that's going on in the top 3 positions in the Commonwealth, the heat that they're getting, I think, is certainly fair. That's a conversation for another day. The perception in the Commonwealth, however, is not a good one right now. One of the reasons we launched this program is to help try to change that conversation and put the positivity out there by having the discussions. Talk to me about what you're thinking.
Well, I saw some interesting polling statistics just yesterday, and those of you that are watching, listen, I don't really care what your politics are. That's a personal thing, and that's great. They said that they had a poll that came out of the University of Virginia, so I guess Mr. Sabato was probably involved in it, that said that the approval rating for our governor was lower than the approval rating for President Trump. Yet, and I'm not so surprised by that, yet the statistical hue and cry to get him to step down or be impeached, and they were specifically talking about the governor, not all 3, just wasn't there. Only less than 20% really cared to do anything about it. So, you know, this is nuts, all 3 of them. I mean, it's just crazy. And you had a guest on, and I forget her name, I'm so sorry.
Sally Hudson.
Sally, who's running.
Yesterday, she's running for the 57th House District.
And I sent in a question.
Congress.
I sent in a question. I said, hey, do you think this would be a bigger deal in the press if those 3 guys, the governor, the lieutenant governor, the attorney general, who all happen to be Democrats, were Republicans?
Of course it would be a bigger deal. We all know that.
The place would be on fire. So how is this thing just sort of fading away?
Because the only guy left is Jerry.
Schornberg. I love you, Al.
I did see that cartoon where there was a guy with a broom sweeping the floor of the State House late at night, the janitor, and somebody came in and said, hey, you're the new governor.
One thing, let me throw this to you. And you're a businessman. You follow politics closely. You've exited a business very successfully. You've launched a business very successfully. You have a lot of skin in the game, with the Commonwealth having a good brand and image. Your thoughts on all this?
Well, I mean, after 8/17 and now what's going on with our political leaders, which is just kind of reinforcing it. And then Jen's kind of the optimist at the table, I think, here. Maybe Ray is, too.
Maybe I'm the only.
I'm a realist.
I'm the only Democrat at the table, I think.
No, I'm a libertarian. I'm a libertarian. You're an idealist. I'm a realist. You're a realist.
Yeah.
Is that fair? You're a realist.
I am.
Yeah.
And so here we go into the 2020 elections, and you know they're going to be playing the race card. And Charlottesville is inevitably going to be brought up over and over and over again. So I'm not as positive that we're getting over this as quickly as people would like.
Take that further. That's an interesting point. Take that a little bit further.
Take it further?
Yeah, you're saying this is going to continue in the national news cycle because we have an election coming up, and the national press is going to continue to leverage this story to drive clickbait. Is that essentially what you're saying?
Yeah. And I mean that's just how I see things unfolding.
Well, how many times in the national media have you seen that, I hate to call him a buffoon, or buffoon of a governor, I guess I did call him that, where his own wife had to stop him from moonwalking at his press conference.
I did.
Actually, that might have
actually
been a good
watching
thing.
it. I was at a wedding. I was at a home. We were in the living room with the bride getting her makeup on, and we were watching it live in disbelief.
My mouth was open.
And I was in Richmond.
Yeah, I thought I was watching an episode of Young and the Restless. I was expecting Cricket to walk in and Victor to walk in. How the wife needs to tell him, do not moonwalk. This is an inappropriate time. That was ridiculous.
Maybe we should make her governor.
Maybe she is the governor.
She's the brains in the family, obviously.
Jump in here, Jen.
Well, I was going to say, let me rein this conversation back in.
Please.
But when you were talking, Al, I was thinking to myself, like, okay, so if the approval of our governor is, are these factors that are going to keep people from wanting to come to Charlottesville on a beautiful weekend in April, and where they fall in love and get engaged, and then they want to come here and have their wedding? I mean, I think these are big problems, but I don't think we're going to see a major economic impact as far as tourism. Because, okay, so say if you live in the DC area and you want to get away, it's just one of the most charming places you could go that's accessible. And I think what's going on politically is not going to change that. I mean, if people feel unsafe, that will change that. But I think we've done, as a community, everything we can to make sure people feel, that the events of August 12th are not, there's no danger here.
Well, what about the people from New York and California? All they see is the news, and all they hear is that soundbite, and they think it's us. They don't know that these white racists and Antifa people came from
They don't know
all over the
Field
country.
drove 13 hours one way to spend the rest of his life in jail.
That's
Right.
Talk to me, Ray.
Well, I was thinking about, Jen and I were talking earlier, and I'm going to help Jen move this conversation on a little bit. We were talking, you have an interesting group here, and in a lot of ways, we're really spoiled because we get to do what we love and make a couple dollars at it, and everything's fine. But none of the three of us deal with that even average spending wedding. That's not who Jen photographs. That's not who hires my band. That's not who comes to your beautiful vineyard. So
we spent $63,000 on our wedding.
Yeah, and
so that's about double. Actually, that's probably triple what the average on.
Thank God that wasn't my money.
Not the actual average, but the statistical average.
I have the statistical average right here from the Wedding Report Inc. $25,808. Now, the problem with average, there's average and there's median. Those are two very different numbers.
Of course.
Average counts the couple that went to the courthouse and got married by the sheriff 21 years ago, and then went down to the downtown mall with their children and her parents to the hardware store and had lunch and left because they didn't spend all that money. I know that couple because that was me and my wife. That's what we did. So, you have that. And then, we see people all the time. I mean, 50,
but we're
75,
talking about
100 grand sometimes.
1,200 on average between Charlottesville and Albemarle, about 1,200 weddings a year.
1,200 weddings a year.
Well,
wow.
Let me just interrupt you and I'll let you go. But let me tell you what the wedding report says, 1,658.
1,658
That's
weddings,
including the other counties.
So. Yeah, greater Charlottesville.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, one thing I think, one of the reasons that beyond just being a photographer that I'm so interested in kind of the wedding community as a whole, I mean, obviously these people are my friends.
You're a leader.
I work with them on the weekends. I've been doing this since '96. I love it. But I also feel like when a couple years ago, when the Board of Supervisors was proposing the farm ordinance law.
You next on this one.
Okay.
Keep going, Jeff.
I was shocked at what I was reading about how the county basically, from my interpretation, wanted to squash what I saw as a beautiful and thriving aspect of our wedding industry that was the primary driver of people, especially people with higher end weddings.
Everybody at this table spoke to the Board of Supervisors, and let me tell you who was the most powerful, because she didn't break down, but she was in tears. It was that one right there.
Oh, I was really,
yeah.
I was really. I mean, I hope I didn't cry. I don't remember crying, but I couldn't. I mean, I spoke after lots and lots of people, and the lawyers on the other side spoke, and I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I was like, it was as if everybody thought that this was some horrible, negative, violent, damaging debauchery, and that it had to be stopped. Like, it just had to be stopped. Like, we couldn't have these wineries and these farms and these breweries having events. It was going to ruin Albemarle County, and I just couldn't believe what I was hearing. And so I just thought they got the picture all wrong.
I've invited Ann Malik and I've invited McNeil on this program. Neither is willing to come on. Neither is willing to come on. They have said that, and quoted in the newspaper, I'm going to throw it to you, we don't want the wedding industry to turn some of these farms into the Nissan Pavilion of Albemarle County. And from my standpoint, it's the opposite. How you preserve farms that have been in families for generations is you allow these families an opportunity to generate revenue from their farms.
That's
because
low impact.
If they do not do this, you know what the hell's going to happen? They're going to subdivide these out. We were talking about this into neighborhoods.
They're going to lose them to foreclosure.
condos.
You know, I mean,
What do you think, Al?
I agree totally. But in Ann's defense, I want to say, being a pioneer, when we first started 20 years ago, you could only do 12 events a year.
Wow.
So, really the changes took place at the state level, but Ann has been very supportive of getting it to this point. Does she want to see it become a huge industry? Probably not.
It is a huge industry. It's just now I think we just need to, organize and develop it in the proper way with the proper support and not opposition from the county, and be part of the tourism industry, be a facet of Charlottesville that's celebrated and not regulated.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let Al get some more thoughts in here, because I know you have some more to say, and then you jump in.
Well, let me say one thing.
Okay, Ray wants to jump in.
Because I want to play devil's advocate for a minute. I want Al to respond to this. So I'm a real estate guy, too, in my other world, and I get zoning. I understand zoning. I understand the purpose of zoning. I understand that a special use permit has the word special in it for a reason. I get all that. But, and Al, and that's why I wanted Al to go next. Al can speak to this. There are ways to work your way through this with your neighbors, with adjacent property owners, with people like that, to make this thing work. But the county of Albemarle or any other county or the city or anybody, they just can't stand in the way. They just can't stand in the way. Then they try to get involved in stuff they didn't even know what they were talking about. His business.
The libertarian in me gets so frustrated when government gets involved in my business, and in any business whatsoever. Socially liberal, physically conservative. Okay? Talk to us, Al, about your thoughts on how... I mean, I agree with what you said. It's a huge industry, and I would think that we would want to celebrate the industry even more, Al, as opposed to raising meals taxes, as opposed to raising real estate taxes, as opposed to raising the lodging taxes. How ass backwards is it to raise the lodging taxes when hotels are down 10.4% year over year? How ass backwards is it to consider raising real estate taxes when we're trying to prioritize affordable housing? Landlords, and I'm one, 40% of this building, we pass the real estate tax increases to our tenants with triple net leases or 5% yearly escalators. They are doing the opposite of what they're standing for. I'm sorry I'm so passionate about this, but it's a hot topic for me.
No, it's a big issue in Charlottesville specifically, more so than Albemarle, I think. But you got to understand that these that the government, they're basically regulators. So that's what they want to do. They want to regulate. And when they do, I mean, it kind of chokes off our business, chokes off our industry, makes things tougher. So, yeah, they've done away with the 12 events a year. Now you can have many more. But still, why is there a limit of 200 people? Why do you need a special use?
Why is there a limit?
I don't know. You don't need a special, there's more things we can do to open up this industry without hurting the community, without hurting the neighbors. And that's one of them.
One of the reasons we had to pick the venue we did, which I'm going to call it Albemarle House right now, Patricia Kluge's old house, as opposed to what it actually is, okay? And ladies and gentlemen, we picked this before this gentleman got on the ticket. Please don't judge me, okay? Please don't judge me. One of the reasons we picked Albemarle House was because of the limitations for capacity of venues in the area. It was one of the few that could accommodate.
We have very few that can hold over like about 180.
Yeah, and ours was like 190 and change. So we had like no options. So this is why we went to Albemarle House. Jump in here, Ray. What are your thoughts on some of this stuff?
Albemarle House, I like that. That's pretty. I see
Albemarle House.
I see contracts come to me. The first one that came to me said Albemarle House on it. I had to call the agent. I said, I don't know where that is.
Our wedding in November. I think you did the wedding. Yeah, our wedding in November. Yeah, that was Albemarle House all the way.
It's even a bigger problem than that. Yeah, because, you know, if you want to have a big wedding, and we travel a lot, I see weddings all the time with 400 people at them. I mean, it's kind of crazy, but it does exist. You can't do that here unless you have the $20,000 tent.
I also don't think that's really the Charlottesville market. I mean, the Charlottesville market is probably more
intimate,
$125. More 120,
yeah.
but
my family's from Long Island. They're Irish Catholic. They're huge.
220, 250, that's not out of the realm of normal. But there's almost nowhere to go. And the problem is we do need more venues. I mean, we have more, truly we have more couples who want to come and be married in Charlottesville than we have places for them to go in season, April through October.
Sure, and the popular ones, the Keswicks and the Pippin Hills and the places like that, they stay booked the whole time.
You're looking at 220.
But, you know, here's the way we can solve that and solve a lot of other problems around here.
But not if the county does not support the industry or even recognize the value to our community. I mean, I think that's what has
we
to
gotta
happen
get, because we got three very loud and boisterous people, and this gentleman right here, perhaps not as loud and boisterous. And
you did count yourself in there. Go ahead.
I am. His intellect and brain power is off the charts. He's a pioneer in this industry. I have to get you in the mix here. Please, talk to us of what you're thinking here, where the conversation is going. Because Al, I am seeing some limitations that are happening, and I don't understand why these limitations are in effect.
Yeah, and I'm, to Jen's point, probably the average weddings 125 to 150 people, but we do get approached all the time for people that want more than 200, and we have to turn them away because you have to go through a special use permit. It's crazy.
Could you accommodate more than 200 people?
We could. Wouldn't be the most comfortable in the world because we have a small place.
But if that were part of your business, you would evolve to.
Right.
If that weren't
because that's a good businessman. Right. He pivots or she pivots her model to accommodate demand.
Exactly. So I just don't see a lot of reason for these regulations. I think they hurt.
Let's get to the folks on the stream here. Barbara Lundgren says the cost of the average wedding has gone down $5,000 to $10,000 since August 12th. Please discuss, and we'll throw it to Ray Caddell. Barbara Lundgren, guys, is a wedding planner. Barbed wire, right? Barbed wire. She says you look fantastic.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Cindy said you look good. She says, preach, Jerry. I'm not trying to preach, just trying to state the facts here. She says the average wedding has gone down 5 to 10K since A12. Talk to me, Ray Caddell.
Well, Barbara wouldn't say that if it wasn't true, and she didn't have statistics to back that up.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing about Barbara is, to me, Barbara is that wedding planner that hits right in the middle of things, right in the breadbasket of it. While Barbara certainly does some spectacular high-end events, she also handles a lot of 125, 150 sort of normal everyday, hey, my daughter's getting married, I got to do something events. So she really has her finger on the pulse of this. That actually scares me a little bit if she said that. And I heard Barbara, or I think she, whatever you call that, clicked in on one of your shows earlier this week. Where's the conference center? You know, where is the big space?
And the conference center specifically, guys, can impact hotel bookings during the week. The hotels that we have in Charlottesville, Albemarle County, and Central Virginia, they have no trouble booking the weekends. Where they do have troubles Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. How we're going to get Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday hotel bookings is if we have a conference center that can appeal to the corporations, the Fortune 500 companies, so they can have their corporate retreats, their team bonding events here in Charlottesville and Central Virginia, and they need a facility to accommodate the amount of people that they would bring to the area. How about hotels? I'll throw this to you, Al, and then you guys jump in as well. Bob Shada has some good perspective to share here. He says Airbnb makes this wedding industry possible. If we didn't have the Airbnbs around here, this would negatively impact the wedding industry because we need more hotel space. When we're booking weddings, when my family's booking weddings on the weekends, there's not enough hotels to accommodate the demand. Mm-hmm. So Airbnb is helping fill that lack of supply from a hotel standpoint. Thoughts?
That fills in the gaps right now, but there are 8 more hotels being planned.
I feel like that problem is being solved.
that's what I mean about this industry. All that's evolving because of the wedding industry. Those hotels wouldn't be going up if it wasn't for the wedding
Preach
industry.
it, Al.
Talk to me.
Yeah, absolutely. So I did some research last year about me and Marissa Vrooman from Orpha Events had this idea about having kind of a wedding week here in Charlottesville. So I did some research with past and current clients about kind of what brought them to Charlottesville, why, what they like about weddings, And one of the things that everyone said was that, there were, first of all, they came here because they love the mountains, the views, the country scenery, the romantic, beauty of Charlottesville. So one thing I wanted to do is jump in and say, yeah, I love the idea of a conference center for Charlottesville, and I think we could definitely use that. It's not going to impact the wedding industry, because people coming to Charlottesville are not ballroom, conference,
Can I play devil's advocate with her? Let me play, and then you jump in here. Sure. I'm going to play devil's advocate with you for the sake of conversation for the show. Here's the devil's advocate and how it could impact the wedding industry. If we have a conference center, and this is just economics right here, if we do have a conference center, maybe it doesn't impact the florists or the makeup artists, or maybe it doesn't impact the photographers, but what it would impact is the hotels. What it would impact is potentially transportation, the limo companies. What it could impact is the breweries, the wineries,
it's certainly
and the vineyards.
It's going to impact businesses, but it isn't
going to
it won't draw weddings. Like, people won't come to Charlottesville because we have a beautiful conference center.
Respectfully disagree.
Well, if it's amazing,
okay, here's
then
why
I
respectfully disagree. I'm not trying to just respectfully disagree here. If the Fortune 500 companies come to Charlottesville, these are the companies that are paying their team members extremely well. If they come in here for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday retreats, and they have a good experience in Charlottesville, then they leave Central Virginia and be like, God, I had this amazing time in Charlottesville and Central Virginia. I went with Cameron Limousine. I had wine at Keswick. I had beer at Three Notch or at Blue Mountain. I think this could be a good spot for you down the road. Sally or Louise or the neighbor.
Yes, you're correct.
Have a wedding here. Jump in here.
I'll stand corrected there.
Well, I don't mean to do that.
Well, I just mean they're not going to get married at the conference center.
Okay.
That's not what people come to Charlotte. That's not the Charlottesville wedding.
I'm just looking at it as like the secondary standpoint.
So again, a huge part of my business is out of town. And I will tell you, I don't know what the numbers are. I bet you I spend 70% of my Saturday nights in a hotel ballroom.
Wow.
It's the Ritz-Carlton. It's the Four Seasons. It's the Intercontinental. It's the W in Atlanta. It's
How
those
many
places.
have you done at the Omni Charlottesville?
I used to do a lot at the Omni Charlottesville. The Omni Charlottesville is a room that needs somebody like Blue Ridge or Pat and Sherry or somebody to make it beautiful. Yeah.
Because it's so sterile, and I'm not knocking the Omni, but it's sterile.
Yeah, they
and they don't make good wine.
They don't
have good mountain views.
But they do have the downtown mall.
They do, yeah.
Yeah, the downtown mall is pretty nice.
Omni is a really important asset for guests to stay. I mean, when my clients are talking about what their country wedding, I'll say most of my weddings are probably at the farms and wineries, but they want the rehearsal dinner is downtown. They want to be downtown. They want their guests staying downtown. They want that kind of cool downtown Charlottesville experience, but they want that beautiful country Saturday wedding experience.
And a perfect example of who's capitalizing on that demand is, say, Travis Wilburn with Old Metropolitan Hall, with Stay Charlottesville. I mean, Travis Wilburn and Bill Chapman, they have literally launched businesses based on people wanting to be on the downtown mall. Commonwealth Sky Bar did the Commonwealth Reserve. They're doing these event spaces.
The space, which exists only to do private parties.
The gentleman behind Bizou.
Yeah.
Fariello, I'm giving you some props right now. That's what I'm talking about, Fariello. So jump in here, Ray.
Well, I think she was trying to make my point a little bit there. So Jerry happens to know my oldest son.
I do.
Ray 3, who got married at the Omni.
Okay.
They did a very nice job.
I feel terrible.
They did a very nice job. Was it the most beautiful space I'd ever seen? No, but there was some lighting and stuff. It was a nice job. Anthony, my number 2 son, just got married at
Pippin.
But he had his
Petey?
Yeah. He just got married. He had his rehearsal dinner at the Space.
Yeah.
Which, how interesting was that? That's all
they do.
They're not open. You can't go over there and have lunch today. No. That's not what they do.
No, and they've been open they've been around for years, so that model has got to be working.
And then he went down and and they got married to Pippin. You know, it's nice being the father of the groom, not the father of the bride.
I'm so glad I have a son right now. Thank God we have a son after seeing this.
You do have a 19-year-old daughter.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
Who has been to those weddings and said, hey, can we do it just like this? She was at Pippin with
Let's get Al in the mix. What
Yeah.
are you thinking, Al?
What am I thinking? I think there's a synergy between what's going on in the city, the downtown mall, the different restaurants, the space, places like that, and the farm wineries where the actual ceremonies and receptions take place. There's a synergy. You have to have both. We wouldn't be any good out there in the country all by ourselves.
Yeah.
I don't think they'd be all that great if it wasn't for us.
You know, and I would think, and I don't want to assume here, I would think that Keswick Vineyards, just like we see with automobile dealerships aggregating in one area like we see in Pantops, giving customers an opportunity for a supply of a bunch of different choices. You can go to one spot and visit 5 or 6 automobile dealerships. Same thing we're seeing with 151 in Nelson County. I would think from your business standpoint, if you had 3 or 4 more other vineyards in that area, then it creates an epicenter of vineyard situation. You're a pioneer. You made this whole area happen. But outside of Castle Hill, I mean, people aren't going to be able to hop onto 2, 3, 4 options. Your thoughts?
Right. Well, I understand there's a new winery that's going to be opening up in the neighborhood. I don't know that much about them. I just heard about it yesterday, as a matter of fact. But we would welcome to have more family wineries, farm wineries, out in our area.
Because the next thing you know, you have the Keswick wine tour. You know, like
exactly
151.
Right. And so that's a thing we're kind of struggling with. How do we? I mean, we you know the deal we're talking about with 3 Notched and all that.
Uh-huh.
That's all to be able to get people out because there's no other wineries to go to. Really, there's Castle Hill, but we want people to be able to come out for the day and keep busy and be entertained. So more than just
Well, were
just
you
one.
surprised? And this is an interesting tidbit. We had Al on the show, but maybe 3, 4 months ago, and we talked about potentially Keswick Vineyards serving 3 Notch beer on draft.
Right.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
Which I think is a freaking brilliant idea because guys don't always want wine. And I'm not trying to stereotype guys. I'm just saying people in general. You're
Yeah.
making it more approachable and offering more options so people can come out and spend more time there. This is what I was shocked about. When we posted that out there, I was shocked of how many haters and naysayers came out of the woodwork. Like the old guard of the winemakers, the old school folks of vineyards. You're a pioneer. You think outside the box. You're an entrepreneur.
Many of those people are out on the west side of town, so they don't see the need. They don't see a need for having beer and wine in the same place. They have wine at their place. People can go next door and have beer at a brewery out where they are. We don't have that luxury. So for us, it makes sense to combine the two.
Those people don't appreciate the trailblazing that he did.
Agree.
I mean,
I appreciate that about you.
He's pretty quiet over there, but you know he's fought a lot of battles for all of us, and still fighting them over all of this thing. You know, I've not played there because I think we have a decibel live music
exactly.
kind of thing that we have to deal with. There we go again, somebody
Yep.
trying to regulate things. You mentioned Castle Hill, Jerry. You might know this, but this is in my entire career, which since 1968 I've been playing the trumpet for money. It's a long time. Something happened at Castle Hill that had never happened to me before. When
What's
you
that?
stand on the stage at Castle Hill and you look up, there's a balcony kind of thing up there. When you look up under the balcony, there's what looks like a little traffic light. It's about this big, and it's red and yellow and green.
Oh, is it
And it has a decibel meter attached to it. And while your band's playing along and everybody's having a good time, if it's green, it's fine. If it's yellow, you're getting a little too loud. If it's red, they say they'll pull the plug. So that's a function of a special use permit and decibel limits and the neighbors. To me, listen, if I live next door to you, I have some concerns about what you're going to do there, even though it's for the most part 1 day a week. But you know what? Measure my decibel limits at the property line.
Well, that's what we changed it to. Before it was couldn't be audible, which was totally subjective. Now it's a decibel level, which can be measured. 65.
Yeah, 65. We're having 65 right now, the 4 of us. 65 is nothing.
Is it
Right.
is it at the property line
Yes.
or at the stage?
At the property line.
Okay, so that makes more sense.
See, we use very directional speakers. At the stage, on the dance floor, we are up around 99, which is good for dancing.
That's plenty.
But at the property line, it's 65. So, and I still work with the county a lot, with some other venues trying to meet this decibel level. And it can be done with technology. It's not easy, and every place is different. But we spend a lot of time doing that.
You know, and let me throw this to you, and then let's get Jen's thoughts here. Jen, we got to get you in the mix. You're offering tremendous perspective today. Okay.
Different points of view.
Okay, I want to hear
different
them. So
experiences.
the same folks that complain about it being too loud next to a vineyard or winery are the same folks that embrace the increased property values because of the vineyard and winery. The vineyard and winery are making their property values more going north, going up, because of the proximity to the vineyard or winery. You can't have it both ways, because that's called throwing stones in glass houses. Jen Fariello, jump in the mix here. Not on this topic, anything that's on your brain. You got a big, beautiful brain, Jen Fariello.
I'm drawing a blank.
Ray Caddell, jump in here. What are you thinking over here?
I have a question for Al, because I got really confused about the last time we were all at the Board of Supervisors together.
Okay.
I spoke anyway, because I don't care if I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm speaking if I have a point to make.
I like that about you.
Tell me about the whole winery, farm winery. Yes, I grow grapes. No, I don't grow grapes. I have to have so many grapes. Is the Board of Supervisors getting into that?
I think I know what you're talking about. What we had, there's certain regulations that apply to farm wineries. And what we were experiencing were places that just wanted to be venues and weren't farm wineries, so they would plant a vine out in front, claim that they're a vineyard, put up a big multi-million-dollar event facility. And that wasn't the purpose of the whole farm winery regulation. We have weddings really to promote our wines. People come from New York, they come from California, they tell me, we didn't even know Virginia made wine. This is some pretty good stuff. And that's how we're getting our name out there outside of the state. These venues that were not really wineries, didn't have a cellar, that's not what it was all about. That wasn't the reason. That isn't the reason we do events.
And those are legal today?
No. Well, no. The county did put in some regulations where you have to have a certain amount of vines in place, a certain amount of acreage.
But they grandfather people.
I think they did grandfather people. Yeah.
So if you wanted to start new today, it's even more difficult.
It's so difficult.
Than it's been.
Yeah, and a good example of that is what they're trying to do at Mount Ida. Mount Ida, which is a brewery and winery, had to wait a long period of time before they could open because of exactly what he's saying. A lot of people offering perspective on the feed, and then I'm curious if you have any ideas that you want. Oh, you want to throw it in now? I like that, Jen Fariello.
I hear what Al's saying, but I also feel like I think one of the reasons why I wanted to be on this show is not necessarily talked about the farm winery ordinance, but to just make sure that people in the county and our community members, people who might not know a whole lot about the wedding industry, really know kind of what a huge impact, a huge positive impact it has, and that we need to do as a community what we can to support growth in that part.
Amen.
Of our so if the farm winery ordinance, if that law is being misused in some way, okay, I get it. I get why it would be regulated, but we need our county, our supervisors, our development folks to say, hey, you know what? We love this industry. Maybe we're not going to put you under the farm winery ordinance, but we're going to create some new regulation, or not even regulation, but some new parameters in which you can create a venue, and we're going to support this because we realize
about incentivizing entrepreneurship
instead of stifling it. I feel like what's happening is that it's being stifled.
I think what everybody on this panel has in common is not in his case, but small business experience. This man's big business over here. You are a pioneer. I have a lot of respect for you, as you can tell here. He has built a big business. He's exited, and then he launched another business in Keswick Vineyards. I'm a small business owner. You're a small business owner. You're a small business owner here. We have entrepreneurship in common, and I think we all believe, and I don't want to assume or speak for you guys, that when small business owners are incentivized to do what they do well, and that's be visionaries, think outside the box, be innovators, that our community and the marketplace will be better off. And when government, whether it's big government or local government, stifles small business owners from doing what they do best, which is every day I have to wake up and figure out a way to drive incremental revenue. Mm-hmm. These guys get 7% raises every year. 7%. Every day I have to wake up and figure out, what am I going to do that's different from my competitors to stand out from everybody else? And it's hard.
It's very hard.
And the last thing I need is somebody on council or the soups, and I'm not trying to knock people. I understand that their jobs are so hard as well. The last thing I need is somebody to say, no, you can't do this for this reason. And it's just like, it's frustrating. And let me get...
Well, Jen said something really interesting, and we went right by it. So, how many acres do you have at your place?
About 35.
Okay,
Nice,
so
Jen.
let's say Jen and Chris decided they wanted to have a venue.
And we ponder.
They don't want to get in your business. The whole figuring out how to grow wine and all that stuff. Plenty of people doing it and doing it well and winning gold medals for it. We just want to have a venue, maybe a small. But let's say you had 350 acres, not 35.
Okay.
And you went to your neighbors and you said, "Listen, this is what I think I'm going to do here." And maybe Saturdays, maybe Friday too. Who knows? Something like that. Why is the Board of Supervisors getting involved in that conversation? You know, we've already shown that the type of business you bring in is non-polluting, non-stress on our educational system, not bad on the roads. A lot of places now, and I guess I don't know if it's the venue itself, but a lot of venues now say, yeah, you can't drive all those cars out here. You got to hire a transportation guy like one of your sponsors. Yeah. And
Camera limousine, Bill Kerr, love you.
There
homie.
you go. There you go. So I like that. I mean.
Well, and I want to say too that if our industry does not continue to evolve and grow and inspire, like it will shrivel up and die,
or it will be replaced by somewhere else.
Yeah. I mean, and so I think we've built. I've been in this industry since 1996. I sort of fell into it, and I have watched it grow, and I have watched it expand, and I have watched it become what I consider world class. I mean, truly, and
it's been good to you.
It has been very good to me, and if we don't keep pushing the envelope and be on the cutting edge of what's happening in the wedding industry and get our events published in magazines. And I'm going to give a lot of credit to Lynn Easton for what she's done with her own business and Pippin Hill on putting, Pippin on a national level. We have to keep moving in that direction. And if we find ourselves as an unorganized industry stifled by our government, like $45 million could go down the drain,
How about that point?
Yeah.
Okay, the wedding industry closes tomorrow. How are you going to replace that? $45 million. What are you bringing in here to do $45 million worth of business?
That's green.
Year after year after year.
University of Virginia, that's it.
Yeah, that's clean. That's economically, environmentally friendly.
That's not corporate and
I hate to keep saying it again,
can you imagine
it
the
costs
tax
a lot of
revenue?
money to send kids to school.
Yeah.
These people come in and they leave. They don't leave their kids here with us. They take them. If they probably left them home, but if not, they took them with them.
Let's get to the commenters here. A lot of people leaving perspective on the stream. Lori Shannon says, unfortunately, the county is strangling the Airbnb business. She's exactly right, and that's why Greene County is thriving in the Airbnb business. She also adds, the conference business will introduce people to the town. They will move here. They will travel here. They will bring their business. They will send their kids to UVA. That's the point I made. They will marry here. More options are important. I don't drink beer. I never have, but I am now allergic to beer. So when we go to places where we can have wine and beer like Al is trying to do, that is good for everybody, and I salute you, Al, for that. Barbara Lundgren says corporations need to be offered incentives to book during the week. The CACVB, etc., needs to make the hotel industry truly understand our needs. I think the hotel industry understands it. I think we just don't have the infrastructure to accommodate it. Jen, your page is blowing up. Jenny Libby is giving you some props right now. We love some Jenny Libby. James Watson, I appreciate you for joining us as well. Andre Xavier from CVille Hop-On Tours says we have a Barbersville stop that goes to Barbersville Vineyards, that goes to Castle Hill, and goes to Keswick Vineyards. Jerry Hayden says, I agree with Al. We need a few more wineries near Keswick. But that being said, I will constantly travel out that way because his wine is great and the views are spectacular. Mark Lickman, Eric Cross, thank you for joining us. A couple hundred people on the stream right now. What are you thinking? You want to jump in, Caddell? What do you got something on your brain? Fariello, you got something on your brain here?
I just keep going back to the same thing. And I watched Jen, and you did tear up. And I was when you spoke to the Board of Supervisors, and Al spoke, and I spoke, and a bunch of people spoke. How did the wedding industry get to be the enemy? I mean, this is completely backwards. The Board of Supervisors is supposed to be whining and dining us and saying, how can we help? Where do you think the next one ought to be? Maybe the county needs to make some sort of investment in infrastructure.
Maybe it's changing based on this new advertising I see coming out.
We should talk about that.
They're promoting wineries now for the first time. It's like, whoa, they're embracing us.
So why don't you go to the one shot, Harris? On me here. So Adam Healy, interim director of the CACVB, is going to join me on Tuesday along with Peter Castiglione, who's one of the top dogs in the, and I get this acronym messed up all the time. It's the Virginia Tourism Lodging Restaurant Association. Is it the VTLRA?
They need a new name.
Yeah, it's something like, it's basically an association of hotels, restaurants, and lodging. So Adam dropped these shirts off. Adam is a big proponent of the, and I want to get your thoughts on this, get your thoughts and your thoughts on this. Adam is a big proponent of the regional and national campaign being solely focused on Charlottesville because people know Charlottesville, Virginia. They may not know Albemarle County. He thinks it should be built around Charlottesville, not Albemarle County. He gave me 2 shirts. This is the first shirt that I'm going to hang. We're on the one shot. Yes, we are, Harris. Thank you very much. The first shirt here, they can see it, says Charlottesville, Virginia. Charlottesville, Virginia. This is what tourists could potentially buy. Charlottesville, Virginia. The second shirt, which our esteemed Board of Supervisor, Ann Malik, wants it to say Albemarle County in it. Albemarle County, okay? Ray's groaning, so we know Ray's got something to say. Before we get to Ray, because we don't have to worry about Ray saying something, you, Jen Fariello, jump in the mix here. Charlottesville, Virginia for the regional and national tourism campaign, or Albemarle County integrated?
It's all about branding, and Charlottesville is the brand, and Charlottesville is Albemarle County, and I mean, even, you know, I think when people probably get married at Veritas, they still think they're having their wedding in Charlottesville. I mean, and I think why fight that? I mean, it's just, that's my opinion.
What do you think, Al?
I'm not a marketing guru like Jen, but my email blew up this morning. People actually had the opposite view. They didn't want to be associated. People in Albemarle did not want to be associated with Charlottesville.
Interesting.
Because they felt it was dragging them down.
That's an A12 thing, yeah.
I'm of the opposite opinion. I'm thinking promoting the wineries will help bring Charlottesville back up from just being, you know, a white racist.
Any concern, and Ray, you jump in here, any concern that tying both Charlottesville and Albemarle County to the regional and national campaign will potentially confuse consumers? Because with advertising and branding, you have a second to try to capture someone's attention. And I mean this in the very, I do advertising and branding for a living. The average Joe, when it comes down to it, and I don't want this to come across as, you know, I'm choosing my words carefully, and I really do here. The average Joe is not that smart. And when you put more elements into a campaign and ask them to decipher more elements in the campaign, oftentimes the message is lost. That's my concern of adding Albemarle County and Charlottesville to it, that it may confuse them. Your thoughts?
Yeah, well, like I said, I'm not, you know, my background's not marketing. And I probably would hear the same thing from my son. Brian, I hear it from you. I hear it from Jen.
Well, just
I think
look
I'm going to hear
too.
it from
Like,
Ray.
what if your logo said "I love CVille" in Albemarle County? I mean, it just sort of waters it down.
That's what I think. Your thoughts, Ray Caddell?
I travel all the time. I'll be in Richmond, which is interesting tonight, because if somebody in Richmond said to me, "Hey, where are you from?" and I said Albemarle County, they have no idea where that is.
Right.
Just in Richmond, just
or
right down the
even
road.
in Richmond's a perfect example. You know, we have Henrico now.
Sure, Hanover, all that.
And
then I'm
Mannequin,
in-
Sabbath. They all say Richmond.
Then I'm in North Carolina the next day. They heard of Charlottesville. They never heard of it. And then I'm in Florida. They definitely, the next day, Sunday, they definitely never heard of Albemarle County. I mean, I understand.
You're getting some props, Al, for what you just said. Folks are also saying the opposite. Cindy Rich says exactly, Al. Exactly, Al. Cindy Rich says. Barbara Lundgren says visitors can't even pronounce or spell Albemarle.
There you go.
Which is true. A lot of my Yankee in-laws cannot say Albemarle. They're like, how do you say this word, Jerry? It's Albemarle. But it's not phonetically like that, Jerry. I'm like, I didn't make the word up. Just call it Albemarle, please. Bob Shada, props to you, says, thank you, Jen Fariello, for letting me photobomb the Cardin wedding photo.
Oh, yes. I Instagrammed that photo.
Andre Xavier, he's a CVille Hop on Tours guy. He says, I love this discussion. I love the discussion, especially about the conference center. I've been trying to bring this topic up for a long time. We have an amazing destination for weddings and corporate events. Let's put this one more time on the one shot, and let's get everybody's opinion. Do you guys like this shirt, Charlottesville, or this shirt? Get it up real quick. This is live television. It's finest, ladies and gentlemen, with Albemarle County included in it. And Ray Caddell, jump in here. Give me some perspective, sir.
Sure. Where's Green and Nelson and Fluvanna? And I mean, it's going to be a big shirt by the time you get done with the thing. No, it's Charlottesville. We're Charlottesville, Greater Charlottesville, whatever you call us. It's Charlottesville. But let me just bounce these two statistics off of you. Last year, 2018, there were 282 weddings in Greater Charlottesville. where the guests came from between 100 and 200 miles away. There were another 232 weddings, so now we're 550 or so weddings, where the guests came from more than 200 miles away. I'll sometimes be standing on the stage at Farmington Country Club, looking out at 200 people, which is a mess in Farmington. Another reason we need bigger. Looking out at 200 people, and I've been here 30-some years. I don't know anybody. You know why? They don't live here. They're coming here from out of town. The bride went to UVA. That was her dream, to get married, to marry there. We need to do, whether it's a T-shirt, we need to get together, and we need to have a unified message, and we need to say, yeah, this is what we can do for you. Here we are. We've got the beautiful vineyards and the scenery. We've got the conference center. We've got and you know, if I'm the hotel, if I own a hotel, why aren't I screaming for a conference center? If I own a hotel, I'm in a lot of trouble Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
I think they are. We got some answers coming in. Terry says Charlottesville only, less is more. Terry Caddell, thank you for offering that perspective. Bob Shotta says Charlottesville only. Andre Xavier says Charlottesville only. On Al's page, we're getting a lot of feedback. You're a popular dude, Al Schornberg. Barbara Lundgren says visitors cannot pronounce or spell. I already said that. Lonnie White says, I've told people I live in Albemarle County. Next thing they ask is, where again is that? Is that in North Carolina? People know where Charlottesville is unless they think it's Charlotte, North Carolina. Charlottesville or Albemarle County for the brand, put it in the chat box, 7 channels that we're airing this on. I'll share the perspective with the gentleman here. You brought something up that I think needs to be touched on again, and I thought it was very on point, which is the impact of Lynn Easton and Pippin Hill. Maybe give that perspective a little more so we can take that discussion, because I think what they've done is they obviously have ties to Charleston, right?
They do have a property in Charleston.
Okay, and they got a hotel, they got a restaurant on the downtown mall, Red Pump Kitchen, and you know, whether this is good or bad.
They have a restaurant venue also in Charleston, as well as the hotel.
Also a restaurant venue.
Cannon Green.
Yeah. Whether this is good or bad, it depends on, you know, if you're in the business of trying to get a wedding in Charlottesville or you're a venue itself. What they've done is really drive price points up. They have,
but they're bringing a new clientele. I mean,
talk to me about that.
So I, from my perspective, Easton Events, Pippin Hill, like they're bringing a new experience to Charlottesville. They've just upped the game. And so I was telling you earlier that I did some research with my clients and I asked them what brought them to Charlottesville. And this one particular bride, and you know, I could tell this story 5 times over, but said, I came because of Pippin Hill. I saw it in a magazine. I looked online. I mean, and Pippin Hill is everywhere. If you just Google it, you'll see more weddings online of Pippin Hill than probably any other venue in Virginia. But they come here because of that. And then maybe it's not the right fit. And maybe it's because of price point, because it is at a higher price point.
I'd say it's the highest price point in the
area. But it brings them here, and then they might find another venue that's more suitable. That's
legit.
And so that is what I think Pippin has created, this really important gateway to a quality clientele, a higher end wedding. And, you know, and that has helped everybody, I think. I mean, I could think of when Keswick Hall was still open, I had several brides who had come to Charlottesville because of Pippin Hill and ended up at Keswick Hall for one reason or another.
Interesting tidbit on that. We, for a couple of years, were the advertising agency of record for Keswick Hall.
I can't wait till they come back.
Keswick Hall has said, we want you to, and I think this is not me speaking out of turn, we want you to make us the Pippin of this side of town. That was the mission that they presented to us. And then they shut down for a short period of time for rehabilitation. Your thoughts on how Pippin's impacted the market, Al?
Oh, I agree with Jen totally on that. I think they have brought a new clientele in, and once they get into town, typically they'll visit 5 or 6 different sites, and make a decision. And economics is always a part of that. But yeah, I have to agree. I can't fight her on this one.
You're playing a little close to the vest?
Yeah, well, yeah, I just got beat up on the whole Charlottesville Albemarle thing.
No, I don't think you got beat up. I think people respect your honesty and straightforwardness. Your thoughts on this?
I worked for both Lynn and Dean before there was Pippin Hill, and I think I worked for Lynn and Dean before they were Lynn and Dean too. Lynn was an event planner, high-end event planner before Pippin Hill ever existed, and I used to work at Charleston Place in Charleston when it was Orient Express property, and Dean was there. So I go back pretty far with them. And were you at that meeting when they sort of put the plans up? We went out.
No.
Yeah, so they had a meeting long before Pippin Hill happened. I think they had an option on the property, And they had me and Pat and Sherry and sort of, I can't even believe you weren't there.
Lynn Brubaker was the photographer in that
That's
meeting.
right. It was Lynn Brubaker.
Yep.
That's exactly right. They had about 6 or 8 of us, and they said, here's what we're thinking about doing. What do you think? And they put the
I remember hearing about that meeting, and everybody couldn't believe that they were saying, what do you need? Like, how do we make this venue work for you? And that's what we need. I mean,
and they responded.
That's the exact model of, like, we need, entrepreneurs who understand that the wedding industry affects dozens of vendors and businesses, and how do we make it perfect? How do we make, like, the best? And if we could only kind of take that mindset into the rest of the process of creating.
And Jerry, there's so many different
enterprise.
price points. I have several other bands that are much less expensive than Big Ray and the Cool Cats, and I developed them just for that reason, because of price points. But it's nice to talk about Lynn and Dean and Pip and Hill, and that's beautiful and everything, but you can't have your wedding there because it's sold out all the time.
It's booked. Right, it's totally booked. You're totally right.
Yeah, so we need to, and the county and the city and the CVB, whoever it is. The first thing we do, and Jen hit on it earlier, they have to understand we're not the enemy. We're part of the solution to the problem. I mean, Al keeps being so quiet over there, but some of the stuff he went through.
Well, he was the pioneer.
I mean, every time you turn around, somebody was messing with him from zoning or
talk to me about
the health department.
Talk to us about, put in perspective the challenge. How old is Keswick Vineyards?
About 20 years old now.
And were you, when you came here, the second vineyard? Was Barboursville was already here, right?
Barboursville,
been a long time.
Yeah.
So you were second?
Oh, in this area? I couldn't tell you. I think there was less than 50 wineries in Virginia total. So in this area, Horton was here for sure.
Okay.
So, and I think we came about the same time King's family did.
Okay. What was King family guys in Crozet? Of course, Jonas Smith says, this is fantastic. Great deals about Charlottesville and Albemarle County. Truly entertaining. We're getting on the props. Petey Caddell is watching. Your son is watching.
He lives in Charlotte.
He's watching right now. She says, always like being a part of the solution. Thank you, Ray Caddell, is what Jonas Smith is saying. Talk to us about the challenges you faced when you launched a vineyard and was it a venue to start with?
No. You could only do 12 special events a year, like I said, and it makes no economic sense to provide any kind of venue space for 12 events. It takes a lot more than 12 events to break even. But there was some changes made at the state level, and I got hats off to David King for leading that charge. My fight was really with the decibel level and outdoor amplified music, changing it from not audible, which maybe you hear it because you don't want to hear it, and no one else can hear it, to a decibel level that can be measured. And that was a big thing for us. That allowed us to actually do events. So I fought that battle, and ever since then I've been kind of helping the county, working with the county, and Amelia over there on getting other venues to also comply, so that somebody doesn't get, I don't know what the proper word would be for it, but somebody doesn't get too upset about outdoor amplified music and shut the whole thing down. I mean, so it's in my best interest to help everybody comply.
Of course. And I got a follow-up question for you before I do. Linda Livernoy, she's giving you props. I agree with Jen, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation
Thanks,
point.
Linda.
Is there an association of some kind with the vineyards and wineries that you guys are a part of? That I would think, in just a layman's perspective, that if you have an association and you're able to work in concert together and pool your resources, that more can get done. Do you guys have that association? And if so, what are you doing?
Yeah, absolutely. In our area, it's the Monticello Wine Trail. It's an association of 35 wineries. And they're always active, and because regulation is a big part of the wine industry, unfortunately. But we're always looking at ways to make events or make our business easier to do. And so they have a pretty big voice.
I love it. Ray Caddell, thoughts on your brain over there?
I just keep coming back to the same thing. And we have our own little group, Charlottesville Wedding.
Yeah, CCWP.
Claire Goodman?
Yeah, Claire.
Claire Francis.
Yeah, Claire Francis. She was the founder.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, and actually, she called me this week about wanting to create. She had a meeting with Adam from.
She emailed me about you guys coming on the show.
Oh, cool!
And she was eager to tune in, eager to hear what you said.
So
thought she wanted to come on the show. We'll do that another time, Claire.
So Claire's amazing, and we owe a lot to her in the way that she's organizing us. But what we talked about this week is about how to organize our CCWEP in more of a I hate the word lobbying.
What is the CCWI?
Charlottesville Community
Wedding and
Event
Professionals.
Professionals. Okay. Charlottesville Community Wedding and Event Professionals.
Okay.
Just kind of creating a group within that group that actually is an advocacy group for kind of the things that we were talking about, to really sort of talk to, tourism, and talk to the Board of Supervisors and advocate for our industry. When I was speaking in front of the Board of Supervisors, Ray and I both were interviewed twice on TV after that, and I got a call a couple days later from a lobbying firm.
Wow.
And they said they had done their research and that there was no lobbying arm of the event industry in Charlottesville, and that they wanted to do that, and they wanted me to hire them. And I was like, oh, that's not really what I do. I'm a photographer. Like, I'm just, but we really should, as an organization, in addition to kind of the farms and wineries, as an event industry, really have a group.
I think you're exactly right. I think it's time for us to take the next step, because what we have is, as you could imagine, we have this big group of people that are used to being around parties, and we have some great parties, and we have some educational opportunities, but I'm not sure we've really done anything yet. And I think you're right.
What you could do is support people or individuals thinking about running for the 5th district, so then you have a voice in Congress. I mean, that could be something. That's a conversation for another day. Who would that be? Right there. That's a conversation.
You'd be great.
That's a conversation.
Are you old enough to do that?
I am old enough to do that. I'm actually older than I look. Al, I really love talking to you, dude. I really do. All right, we have spent a fabulous hour and 10 minutes together, and I felt like it's been about 10 minutes. I really have enjoyed the energy. Why don't we give Harris, everybody, a final word, a final thought, and we'll close the discussion down. You guys can go in any way you want about what we've talked about. We'll take each of these final words and we'll turn them into what we call sizzle reels. And the sizzle reel is, you know what they are, is a cut from this that we're going to turn into a short, approachable video, and we'll syndicate it across our network. So I'll let you go third.
I can.
Third.
Okay, I was going to say, I can answer a question, but don't put me on the spot.
You want me to thank the sponsors so you give a chance to, compose your thoughts?
Please thank the sponsors.
Why don't I do that? Roy Wheeler, trusted real estate firm for over 100 years. Roy Wheeler, ladies and gentlemen, has been a firm that you can count on. We thank them for being a part of the program. Sean and Roxanne Simmons took a Honda Civic, a dream, and some sweat equity, Jen Fariello, and they built a global business, and it started here in Charlottesville. Locations in Qatar, Japan, Saudi Arabia, Washington, D.C., soon to open in Portland. Big fans of them. Scott Wagner of Scott Wagner Chiropractic and Sports Medicine. Who's got your back? Scott Wagner of Scott Wagner Chiropractic and Sports Medicine. Intrastate Pest and Service Companies, a home's best friend, 4 generations strong. Intrastate Pest and Service Companies, and Animal Connection with Patty Boden. Right here, Jen Fariello.
Hi, Patty.
There's Liza the dog, the I Love CVille mascot. Did you know that was her?
I did not.
That's Liza the dog. Okay, so we'll start first. Harris Tolber is our director. We'll start with Ray, so that helps you there. This is the final word here on our Central Virginia wedding panel. This has been truly fun. The show is yours.
So very quickly, like I do anything quickly. So I'll make this as succinct as I can. I've sent you messages about this, and it's something that I'm really concerned about. So we have this crown jewel of our city, the downtown mall here. And I am not there very often, because if I'm out late at night, hopefully somebody's paying me to entertain them, or else I'm home on the couch. And I live in Carsbrook. I live in the north side of town, so it's just not somewhere I go very often. I had occasion to be there twice this week at night, musical reasons, to be there twice this week. I was aggressively panhandled, aggressively. I'm 6'1", 270 pounds. If guys are going to come up, have enough audacity to come up and give me a hard time, really, how can that be good for business and tourism? And the thing that I don't understand is, and the second time that it happened, I said, I'm just going to walk from one end of the mall to the other and sort of see what I see. So what happened was I was aggressively panhandled 4 times between one end of the mall and the other, and I saw 0 police presence, 0. So if Jen, we don't want to talk about where your temporary office is, but Jen has some occasion to spend time on the mall from time to time. Where's the policeman or the what's UVA call him, the ambassador? Where is somebody riding up and down the mall on a bicycle with a bright jacket on or something, sort of helping protect and grow and develop that mall into the real jewel that can be, instead of what seems to be happening now, at least in my anecdotal experience. So fix that, will you, Jerry?
I will try. I'll put that on the radar, and I agree with a lot. In fact, I've caught a lot of heat for saying let's manage the homeless population better, and then whether it's the far left or the far right has said you don't manage the homeless population, you support the homeless population.
And let me say one more thing, because I want to be very, very, very clear about this. This is not a racial issue.
Oh, of course not.
Every human being that bothered me, bothered me was white, every single one.
Yeah, and the majority of them are white. And one of the problems is, and I don't think it's a problem, and you probably can share some perspective here. I don't want this to be your final word, if it doesn't have to be. But there's the Haven, there's a number of soup kitchens around the downtown mall. So oftentimes the homeless population is aggregating or congregating downtown because they know they can get breakfast, lunch, and dinner for free at one of the soup kitchens around the mall. So if we want to make the downtown mall more approachable, maybe it's first asking the soup kitchens or strategically positioning them in different locations as opposed to downtown. And maybe what that could do is make the downtown more approachable, more safe. I don't know. I think it's a good topic. Doesn't have to be your last word. Let's go to.
I think that's a totally different
story.
Different show.
Totally different show. We'll have Jen Fariello here, Harris Tolber, on her last word.
I just want to say that I just want to be a cheerleader for our industry, and I hope that other people will just see what a great thing the wedding community is for Charlottesville, and support it if they can. I mean, most people aren't in a position to support it, but and I'm not talking to the average person, but I want Charlottesville, those in our community, to be entrepreneurial too in the event industry, expand our community, and hopefully the government will also follow suit in supporting that innovation.
I love it. I hope that's the case too. Let's cut that into a sizzle reel, please. And then the CEO and the founder of Keswick Vineyards, Al Schornberg, your last word, sir. Anywhere you want to go?
Okay. I guess what I would say is that Charlottesville is second only to Charleston as a wedding destination on the East Coast. I think farm wineries had a big part in that, if not maybe totally responsible for that, providing the venues. And it's a very clean, it's a very beautiful, and it's a very wonderful industry. Other than growing vines, I can't think of a better industry for this area.
I love it. Those are 3 sizzle reels right there, Harris Tolber. Barb says it's a National Margarita Day.
Oh, when did we have margaritas?
National Margarita Day. She thought you would like that. She did like that. You were totally right. You like margaritas?
Love it.
Okay, all right.
Guadalajara, let's go.
Guadalajara, let's go. You guys are the best. I've enjoyed this. Thank you for your time. We will close down. We will see you. Is today Friday? Today is Friday, so we will see you Monday. I don't even know who I have on the show on Monday. I'm going to do some quick reconnaissance right here. On Monday, we have a debate between Michael Payne and Lloyd Snook, 2 folks that are running for city council.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah, regardless of your politics, ladies and gentlemen, please understand that the June 11th primary in the city of Charlottesville will determine, the 3 spots on city council and not the November election. It's such a democratic city that it's a June 11th primary that will determine it. So please get involved. I'm Jerry Miller. Close the same way every time. Please, Charlottesville, Virginia, be good to each other, and please embody the golden rule. And if you do that, our community will be a better place. Thank you for joining us on the I CVille Show.
Always a pleasure, my friend.
That's fun.
Fun?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, Jerry.
Hey, thank you. Thank you. Truly grateful for your time. What we'll do is we'll take the sizzle reels, we'll email them to you. I know I have your email address. I'm not sure I have your email address. I don't have your email address.
Okay.
Judah will capture those email addresses.
How do you think that went for your?
I thought it was great. I think people were hopping on. I mean, they loved it. I really liked it because I thought it was like.